Hi everyone. Does it work? All right. Thank you guys so much for coming. I'm so glad to be here. I'm Armin Ibrisagic. I work as a game designer and PR manager at Coffee Stain. And I was supposed to tell you guys something before I started. It was turn cell phones on silent. And there was one other thing, right? Did I forget something? Evaluation, yeah. What was that? Yeah, remember to give evaluations, right? And hopefully remember to give good evaluations. Anyway, I'm here to talk about Goat Simulator. I'm here to talk about basically the marketing lessons that I've learned. It's been a hell of a ride, and I'm happy to share them with you guys. So actually, I started out as a level design intern initially on Magica. Right after that, I got a job at Coffee Stain Studios. I was doing level design, game design, that kind of stuff, and when my contract was about to expire, they were looking for someone who could do PR. And I pretended that I knew how to do PR, and so I got the chance to do that, and so I basically learned while I was doing. So that's my background. I don't have any actual PR education, but in some ways I think that's actually a good thing. So Coffee Stain in 2013 were in a really tricky situation. We had just finished Sanctum 2, which was like our biggest IP back then. We had been working on Sanctum for 2 years, I think, in total. And then Sanctum 2 for another 2 years. So we were pretty, we weren't sick of our game, but we felt that we wanted to do something different. So we prepared to start a whole new IP that was going to be like our next big game that we're going to work on, which wasn't Goat Simulator though. It was something totally different, this really big game that we were planning to make. And basically we just had a 1-month game jam for people that weren't involved in pre-production. So we could basically just play around, do whatever we wanted. I pitched Goat Simulator as an idea, and luckily I got some people that started working on it with me, and that's how the game started. During the early days of Goat Simulator, we weren't really planning on making a big game. We mostly focused on playing around, learning new tools. We bought all the 3D assets from the internet because it's not like we're going to release it anyway. It's just a stupid goat game. And the project was really relaxed. It wasn't that serious. You would basically just go to work on whatever you felt like doing and put it in the game. No one was keeping track of what was in the game. You know how game jams are. So it wasn't really super serious. This was our planning. I know this is I'm from Sweden, this is moose talk, but I can translate it to you. Basically just says, first week a goat, other week a goat that moves, then a goat that moves on a level, then a goat that can do a trick, and so on. That was basically our planning. So it wasn't really, there wasn't really anything that was solid or set in stone. And you knew basically what you should be working on, but it was still really free, and you could do pretty much whatever you wanted. Then one day I put up a really short video of gameplay on YouTube, and just over one night it just exploded. I went to sleep, and when I woke up it was like all over my Facebook feed. I think it has like 6 million views now or something. It was insane. We were never used to having this much, eyes on us and this much attention. So our main thing was that we just felt like, how do we not mess this up? Because obviously there's a lot of people looking at us. We have a lot of cool things that a lot of potential customers, and how do we make something good out of this? Because the game was still, it was like 3 or 4 weeks into development. It was pretty scary. But later on, we felt like we basically took everyone from our other projects. We're 20 employees at Coffee Stain. We took everyone, put them on Goat Simulator. We kept adding content into the game, but we still figured that we don't want to transition into a serious game. We still wanted to keep the playful kind of style. I'm sure we could have, we had a couple million views on our YouTube trailer. We could have gone to a publisher and been like, oh, hey, give us this much money. We'll make a AAA GOAT game. For $60, it'll be, you know, GTA with goats. But that wasn't really the spirit of the game, because I think the game went viral because it was so small and so stupid and kind of buggy. So we just wanted to keep going in the same spirit that the first trailer was. The giraffe thing. So I was doing an interview with a journalist, and they always ask the same questions. They ask me, why do you play a goat? Why don't you play a giraffe or a bear or something? And I was getting pretty tired of the questions. So I was like, well, you know, giraffes are just basically really tall goats, and bears are just really fluffy goats. And as I was going back to my desk, I figured, you know, wait a second, maybe there's something here. So I went to our animator, and I asked him, if I would buy a giraffe off of the internet, would you have time to animate it? And since we had no planning, he was like, yeah, sure, I can do it tomorrow. So we did. At the end of the week, we had a playable giraffe, and as soon as you could play the giraffe, we were just like, yes, this is perfect. We got to do this. And now unlockable goats are like a huge part of the game. If you Google tall goat, there's actually a picture of a giraffe. But we decided that there's no freaking out allowed. We still got to do it in the same way as the game was from the start. We knew that reviewers wouldn't like it. You know how they grade games? They're like gameplay is 7 out of 10, graphics 6 out of 10, audio. And you know, if you play Goat Simulator like that, then you don't really get the game. So we just didn't bother. We just didn't get in touch with reviewers. They would ask me for keys, and I wouldn't even answer them back. We actually tried to calm down the hype, which you know, people are always like, oh, I know what you're doing. You're doing like reverse psychology. Not at all. We just felt like there were people that we had comments on our YouTube video, and people were like, oh, I can't wait till this. I can't wait till you guys add animal control in the game and like helicopters like in GTA. And we don't even have any AI. Like the reason that NPCs just run in a random direction in Goat Simulator and trip over buckets and everything on the floor is because they have no pathfinding. They just run somewhere and then they trip over. So there's no chance that we're going to have time to put that in the game anyway. So we felt that, you know, we wanted to calm down people and be like, okay, relax. This is going to be a game that you play for an hour and you have fun, and that's it. It's not going to be, you know, the next GTA except with goats. And also the bottom line is sometimes like people, when I'm at PAX and stuff like that, people walk up to me and they're like, oh, sell me on Goat Simulator. And I'm always like, you know, there's no sunshine I can blow up your ass that will make you like the game. If the name Goat Simulator doesn't excite you, then, you know, there's nothing I can do. And you probably hate having fun. But I felt like it was really, really important that people knew what they got and they knew what they were buying, and that they didn't, you know, jump into the game and be like, oh, this is just, you just play a goat and do stupid things, because that's the game. Anyway, when we released the game, it's so great. It outsold all our other games in a matter of days, I think. We noticed that we don't actually need journalists to like our game. We got terrible reviews. We got like 1 out of 10. They told us that we were the worst game ever. But we still sold really well. So we figured that we don't need journalists to like our game. We just need them to talk about it. And then you can let players decide whether they like it or not. The funny thing is that we would get reviews that were like 1 out of 10, this is terrible. And then they'd notice, I'd talk to journalists and then be like, oh, Goat Simulator reviews, even though they're terrible, they get like 3 times as many hits as other articles. They get like so many more comments. I suppose because it's a very polarizing game. Either you hate it or you love it. And so we would have journalists that would give us 1 out of 10 and say, this sucks, no one should play it. And then they started putting up articles like, you know, this is how you find all the goats in Goat Simulator. Most fun places to go in Goat Simulator, because they noticed that they were getting hits, right? So that was funny. And I would just send them this picture. I don't care. When we released the game, I remember when I wrote the key features for Sanctum 2, and I was so nervous. It was like the first time I was doing it, and it took like weeks. I was writing it, and I was like correcting every single word. Nothing can be wrong. You know, exchange this word to this other word because this other word sounds more action related. But for Goat I didn't have time for Goat Simulator, so I just wrote like, you know, you can be a goat, you do stupid things, and I didn't actually. I was like, okay, this will work for now, and then when the game releases, I'll maybe change it later. And as soon as I updated it on Steam, it got up on the first page of Reddit, because people thought that it was so funny that we were actually being honest with, you know, what our game is about, and we weren't, you know, trying to sell people on our game, because that's what I tried to do with Sanctum 2. We were like, you know, we have 16 maps and 8 weapons and this many enemies and a high-speed action game, shoot things. But with Goat Simulator, we were just like, you know, it's a dumb game, and if you like dumb stuff, you're going to like it. If not, then no problem at all. Save your money. It's probably better that you save your money anyway. After this happened, I settled on a kind of a PR policy for the game. I decided that we're going to focus on our community. We're not going to focus on scoring high reviews with the press, because they're not going to like it anyway, so, you know, why bother? We're not going to oversell, because it's just not consistent with the game. It's not that type of game. Controversial articles are better than good reviews, because controversial articles get... If an article makes you angry, then you link it to your friends, or you link it in your Skype chat, or you talk about it with people on Reddit. And if there's actual discussion to be made, then people can talk in the comments, and they engage much more with actual articles. When I wrote the press releases for Sanctum 2, I was trying to make it as shiny and as blingy and cool as possible. But in Goat Simulator, basically the only important thing was to make, you know, short quotes that describe the game, and, you know, short feature lists instead of trying to impress people. We did I don't know if you're aware, we did an MMO expansion. There's some background info for that. We got a lot of requests to add multiplayer to our game, which is impossible, because you can't add multiplayer into Goat Simulator. We would have to remake the game from scratch. It would take us 2 years, and when we would add it, and we would probably have to add it for free, right? And when we would add it, people would just be like, oh, are people still playing this? Is this still relevant? So, you know, we could never do multiplayer, but we could do a fake MMO. So we made a fake MMO with like scripted goats that ran around. We had a chat that me and another designer scripted, where, you know, fake players would yell at each other. You know, they would sell iron swords for 12 gold, and they would call each other nerds and idiots, and you know, don't trust Razor Killer 33, he's a scammer, he stole my gold, all that kind of stuff. And we would actually have people who thought it was a real MMO. So obviously it worked. We would have to add it for free though, because we were scared that we were going to get sued. And the feature list in the MMO was also like really stupid. You can play a warrior, rouge, magician, hunter, and a microwave. Level cap was... So we released this right when World of Warcraft released their... what was it? Warlords of Draenor. And they increased their level cap from 90 to 100. So we had to make it 101. We had 100 actually. But then, like, I think 2 or 3 days before release, they announced their... I saw their level cap 2 or 3 days before we released, and I went to a programmer and I was like, "Can you change it to 101?" And he was like, "Yeah, no problem." It's like, you know, 1 minute of work. So we put level cap 101, and that was actually a thing that was quoted a lot. We got featured on Engadget, which they have like 1.5 million followers on Twitter or something. And it came out, I think it came out like the same week that World of Warcraft released their expansion. And in the press release, I think we wrote something like, we apologize to the employees at Blizzard if they see any decrease in sales, because we released our MMO expansion at the same time as them. And that was quoted a lot too. We made a zombie expansion later on, and by then I had learned this, quotable thing. The first thing that we have, like the main motto we had was that it was the only survival game on Steam that isn't in early access, and that it probably isn't true. I'm sure there's tons of games that aren't in early access that are survival games, but it's not important. That's not the point we're trying to make. We're just trying to kind of make fun of people. You can craft anything you want as long as it's one of the half dozen weapons in the game. And that was also, when you have a short sentence that people can share, and that's interesting in some way, it can be funny, but it doesn't have to be. I know that everyone doesn't make farm animal simulators, but you can, as long as it's something that's short and kind of shareable, then it goes out so much easier than when you try to do something like, we have 44 maps. What's 44 maps? How large is a map? How long does it take to play a map? Is it like a Super Meat Boy map that takes 10 seconds, or is it like, do you play it for hours? It doesn't tell you very much. But when you have a short message that people can relate to and that they can share with each other, then it's so much easier to reach out to people, and it's so much easier to gather them at one place. And that was also really, that worked really well on Reddit. I'm going to talk more about Reddit later because it's been a really big help for us. So basically, the best press release is as short as possible. One sentence about the game, feature list, press kit. There's nothing else you need. Maybe a quote from you that would make a good headline. And I've learned that you shouldn't try too hard to make press excited about your game. Because I think the truth is that press is, I'm sure that press people are excited about games, but they see, they get like 100 press releases a day. And it's, they can't be excited about every single game. So it's better to just give them something that's easy, that they can copy paste and just put it on their site, something that's fast, rather than trying to, sell them or win them over in some way. Say something about YouTubers. A lot of people ask me about, how does YouTubers fit into this? I think YouTubers isn't related to PR. There's nothing you can say to a YouTuber that will make him want to play your game if he doesn't find it interesting, especially the big ones. I mean, PewDiePie is like, he doesn't care. He has 40 million subscribers, You can't be like, oh, I'll give you a Steam code. He can buy all the games on Steam that he wants. I think if you want to get YouTubers to play your game, then that's a game design question. It has nothing to do with marketing. It has nothing to do with PR. When people play your game on YouTube, it helps your marketing and PR. But it's nothing that you can, as a PR manager, that can't be your responsibility, because that should be the game designer's responsibility, to not only make a game that's fun to play, but also make a game that's fun to watch when someone is playing it. So we noticed that most of our community seemed to gather on Facebook. We got like 80,000 likes first couple of weeks. On Sanctum we had like 20,000 likes for years, and we tried so hard to increase them. With Goat Simulator we just got like a ton of people in just a couple of days. So it was obvious that we need to put more energy into Facebook, and we need to make it became our main channel of communication, because even journalists would follow us. And sometimes when if I write something on Facebook, it'll end up as an article anyway. We realized early on that we need to focus on Facebook. Now, how Facebook works, I'm sure, like if you work in marketing and stuff like that, you know how Facebook works, but I'm going to explain it fast anyway. Basically, updates are always tested on a small group. If you have 100,000 followers on Facebook and you write something, that doesn't get pushed to 100,000 people because we all like 150 different Facebook pages. If all of them would update every day, we wouldn't be able to see anything else. Facebook would be full of ads. So basically what they want to do, what Facebook wants you to do, is to filter out all the bad updates and push out all the good ones. So what they do is they test an update on a small group, like 100 or 1,000 people. If the update has good engagement, like likes, shares, comments, then it's pushed out to a slightly larger group. If it still works, then it's pushed out to a larger group again. So it's strictly controlled by Facebook, which is a good thing. Reddit is basically a really, really big Facebook page where everyone updates everything, and you can control what goes up there. But it still follows the same kind of idea where you let the users and the interest that the users have in what you write, you let that control how many more people see it. Because on the front page of Reddit are only the updates that have had the most upvotes, most engagement, and stuff like that. That's how the system works. But usually, marketing people stop there. They never look at how people work, and that's half the equation too. We like to share things on Facebook to impress our friends. We all want to be, that funny person that has the best cat videos or, the most interesting articles about whatever it is. And that's why that's why cats are more viral than anything else, because, you just rather share a cute picture of a cat than patch notes to a game. If you play Call of Duty, and Call of Duty releases a new gun, and you have 300 friends on Facebook, maybe 2 of them play Call of Duty. So that's only relevant to 2 of your friends. And you're going to look like a nerd to the rest of them. And your grandma's going to be like, well, why is Armin sharing pictures of guns? What's he going to do? That's why things that everyone can appreciate are always much, much more viral than things that, only a small amount of people can appreciate. So if you're going to run a Facebook page, you can't just think of your fans, but you need to think of the friends of your fans. You need to think, are my fans going to look like idiots if they share this update? Especially when it comes to things like, here's concept art to our game. Can everyone like and share it, please? Then that gives no incentive to people to actually like and share it, and it just looks like you're, trying too hard to make people market your game, and you're kind of trying to turn your followers into, marketers, and people don't appreciate that. So I've been doing our Facebook updates for 2 years now, and I'm going to do some comparisons in what were our best posts and what were our worst posts, and what can we learn from that. We worked on with a company that made shirts for us, because people were like, oh, where can I buy a Goat Simulator shirt? So we made some art. We made a couple of mugs and small stuff like that, and we thought that it was going to be really big, like people are going to go crazy over this. But when we pushed it to our Facebook, it got very, very little people even saw it, and very little people even thought that it was relevant to engage in. I think back then we had maybe 100,000 likes on Facebook, and as you can see, it only got out to 15,000 people. Well, I don't know why. I have some theories. It could be because the game is $10. The merch is like $25 plus shipping, so that instantly removes like 90% of all our players anyway. It's nothing that you want to share on your Facebook. It's like September 9th. Maybe you just started high school. Maybe you just started college. you know, all the cute people in your class are going to go to your Facebook page and they're going to see some shirt with a goat on it. It's kind of weird. So it's nothing, you know, we gain a lot if you share this, but you don't gain anything from sharing this yourself. We ran a competition. We added the Steam Workshop to the game because we wanted people to make mods and make extra content, and we wanted to have, you know, have a community that was kind of alive. So we did a competition where we would let players make maps, and then we would judge them, and, you know, the best one would win something cool. It was more successful than our shirt campaign, probably because it was free. But one thing that was, you know, to our detriment was probably that it's not something that everyone can do. It's not something that everyone wants to do. It's not something that everyone has time to do even. So it wasn't, we got like, I think, we got a dozen or so submissions, but it still took us like, took us some time to play through the maps. There was like this administration cost to it, where we had to, still had to do some things for this to work. And in the end, it was good, but we didn't get that much results that we hoped. Like we had people who were like, oh, you know, everyone's going to start making Goat Simulator maps now, but it's not really, wasn't really how it worked. This picture got 90,000 views and like 330 shares. This was right when NVIDIA released their new graphics card, and they're actually goat towers. Like this is actually a thing. Sometime around like the 1800s in Ireland, they had a ton of goats apparently, and I guess they thought that the goats, they wanted to do something that looked good, so they built towers and let goats climb up in them as a decoration basically for rich people in the United Kingdom. So I found this picture. I think someone sent me this picture, and I just put it up on our Facebook page, and people thought it was really funny. We got like 6,000 likes compared to, what was the other, like a couple of hundred likes. We got a ton of shares, and you know, if you click the share button, you see what people wrote when they shared it, and everyone was like, ha ha ha, look at this. You know, they wanted to show this to their friends because it was pretty funny. This is our worst update ever. Patch notes for the mobile version of the game. Terrible, probably because only a fraction of our users play mobile. We have the game on Steam, on Xbox, on PlayStation. So it's only interesting for a small part of our players anyway. And there's nothing you can say. You can be like, oh yay. Maybe you pull out your mobile and download it. But there's nothing really. Why would I want to share this on my Facebook page? This got like 145,000 people reached. It's two-letter updates, one picture. I was playing as I think this is called giant goat, or like fish goat or something like that. It's a blue whale. You can't even control it. You can just like roll around because you don't have any legs. And I got stuck like in I was going to jump into the pool, but I got stuck right next to there. And I thought it was a funny picture, so I took it. I put it up on our Facebook page. And you know, people thought it was really funny, and they shared it. And I think it got up on Reddit as well. This is our most viral Facebook post ever that we've ever done. There's not even any text. It's just a picture. It didn't even make this picture. I found it on Google or something. 9,000 shares. If you're going to buy advertisement on Facebook, on pop-up ads, whatever you're going to do, 500,000 reach is pretty expensive, right? It's like you end up paying like a couple of $100 or a couple of $1,000s for it if you're going to do like a campaign to push your game to that many people. And this was like 2 minutes of work. This was like literally, haha, that's funny. Drag and drop to desktop, drag and drop to Facebook, update. And because it's a funny thing to share, right? So that was really successful for us. So basically, what I learned from Facebook is that, and this applies, as like I told you, this applies to Reddit. This applies to really any social media out there, and social media is growing like crazy. People don't share or comment on things that make them look stupid. There's no reason you want to share, patch notes to a game about goats on your Facebook page. What do your friends have to gain from that? I think it's important as a marketing person to use your common sense, to not like stare yourself blind on the numbers and try to impress your bosses too much. People want to share funny things. People don't want to share commercials. Other updates that are really terrible are when our game's on a sale. Like Goat Simulator is on a 75% off sale. No one clicks on that. No one, like it. You might tab out and go on Steam and buy the game, but you're never gonna share that to your friends. People don't like being, walking commercials. So I think it's really important to entertain your people. Create an environment that people want to be part of. You know how Apple has what are they called? Apple bars? The Apple things where you go with your computer, and they're always like so nice. Their customer service it's basically like a party, right? Like Apple stores are like a party, and they make it a party that you want to go to. And that's something that you should think about when you make social media as well. Make your website or Facebook page or whatever it is, make it a cool party that people want to visit, instead of forcing people to share things for you. This is my status slide. How is media today? I think media today is really terrible. It hasn't really changed since mass marketing was invented 100 years ago. It's still built on obsolete technology. I don't know how often I get emails that are like, do you want to buy ad space on a building in a city somewhere in the US, and we're situated in Sweden anyway. Or like, do you want to buy ads on a train? And it's not really, it's not really something that our customers are going to see anyway. Basically, a lot of people that are on trains are going to see it, but it's not something that is relevant for us at all. What developers do is that they use pre-written responses everywhere. You write something to a Facebook page, and they're like, thank you for your feedback, Jack. We will take it into consideration. We're really glad that you like our game. And that's, if you're going to write that, you might as well not answer at all. And developers either put PR professionals between themselves and the players. That's usually what the large companies do, the companies that have the money. The companies that don't have the money, like indie developers, they just ignore their fans completely, because they're so scared of, I'm going to say something stupid, people are going to hate me, or they just don't know what to answer at all. When we made the MMO expansion, we were looking for suggestions from our fans. So I wrote this update, what would you want to do? What would you want us to update Goat Simulator with? And the responses that we got were terrible. It's like, you can't use them. It's lasers. What am I going to do with lasers? Or like squirrel diving suits. How can that be an expansion even? So I just started, making fun of the suggestions. It was a Monday, and I was sitting, down with my coffee, and I was like, holy shit, people are stupid. And someone's going to quote me on that. Fuck. Anyway, I was just kind of chatting with them, not making fun of them that much, a little bit, but like playing around and being playful. And I noticed that we got so much more engagement. Like I would get more likes on my comments than on the actual thing that I updated, and people started like tagging their friends. They're like, oh, look what they're doing. Like, their Facebook page guy is drunk. It kind of became a thing, which was really fun. This was like also one of our most viral posts. I don't know how much this is worth, how many hundreds of dollars in marketing this is worth, but it was really, really successful for us. So when you do something that works, you want to keep doing it, right? I noticed, casual interaction really increases engagement so much with people. They see you replying, and they want to comment as well, of course. Someone writes something stupid, I reply with something stupid, so people are like, oh, can I I'm going to say something even more crazy. And I think basically, interacting with your community is so much better than trying to manage them in some way. I think there's basically 3 types of comments. There are comments that aren't very useful, like the ones that you guys just saw. There are toxic comments, people that want to kill you because you've made a freaking game, man. And actual useful suggestions, but those are really rare, though. So during Sanctum 2, I did the thing that I just said that you shouldn't do, which is ignore every single comment that wasn't, I love Sanctum 2, I can't wait. And then I just reply, thanks, or a smiley, I would play it really safe because I was really new at marketing and I was like, I don't want to start a Twitter storm. I don't want people to, get mad at me. But in Goat Simulator, I basically interact with them as I would interact with them in real life. So if you would walk up to me and you say that I should give away my work for free, this is exactly how I would reply to your comment. And that really, initially I was like, I replied and then I checked back in like 2 minutes and I'm like, has something bad happened? Has it exploded? It didn't, and then it would just end up getting more and more likes, and people would just laugh. And even, of course, I'm writing in caps lock. Of course, I'm not angry. We were just playing around, and people would find it funny, and even the people that I would kind of make fun of would just be really in on it, and they would think that it's funny. I decided that I'm going to reply to every single comment, even if it's totally pointless. If you write something pointless, maybe you just want someone to answer. Maybe you just want to be seen for a while. Like David. He just needs a hug, and a relaxing cup of hot chocolate. So dealing with toxicity, that's the hardest part, of course. It's easy to make fun of, people that are, happy and making fun of themselves a little bit. With Sanctum 2, we just ignored it. We had like, once one of our programmers was like, wrote something. It was like, I don't remember what it was, but he just wrote a comment and people were like, if you reply to a toxic comment, you just get like 100 toxic comments back. People just like, there's no shortage of angry people on the internet. And as soon as you reply, you just attract them, even more. So we would just like ignore every single toxic comment, but we would still be kind of afraid because we were like, what if I delete this comment that tells me that I should go kill myself? Is that censorship? Are people going to get mad? Or are we going to get raided by even more goons that come over here and harass us even more? So you were like kind of, you're really scared. You weren't really, didn't really know how you were going to handle it. But Goat Simulator is, you can talk shit back as much as you want as long as you're funny doing it. Because I think there's a really big difference between, when someone attacks you and you wrestle them down to the ground and roll around in the mud like an idiot, and when someone attacks you and you just deflect and make fun of them. So the way you answer is really, really important, especially as long as you're funny, and you don't even have to meet their criticism if their criticism is really angry and really toxic. Here's a bunch of toxic comments. Basically, if you're going to come to my Facebook page and talk shit, then if you deal it, you got to be able to take it yourself. Jeffrey comes to my page, talks shit about my mom, I'm going to get him back. The Steven guy to the top right, this update that provoked Steven so much was that we had ported the game to Mac. And we were like, okay, Goat Simulator is out on Mac now. You can play it on Mac. And Steven is like, oh my god, I'm so angry. How can you do this? They don't deserve this game. And you're like, if you just burst their bubble, then they realize that they're being idiots, right? Because some of them, we've all been 12, right? I remember when I played Warcraft 3 on my old computer, and you beat someone and you're like, haha, you suck. And basically, if you act like that, you just need someone to, sit you down and be like, okay, is this really worth getting angry over? Is this really something you should be upset over? You know? And when I wrote this, it was, these were like some of our biggest updates as well. Like, if one person is toxic to you and you make fun of him, you're going to get like 10 people that agree with you that are going to start making fun with them too. Like, people would like write comments under it and be like, "Oh, you got burned, man." You know. So, as you're allowed to talk shit as long as you're funny. There's, you know, this update was really unnecessary, and I replied, and you know, someone put it up on Reddit, and as you can see under there, 541,000 views. There's also hundreds or thousands of money in marketing. Just, you know, Ethan really helped us out, you know, just by you know, commenting back to people, replying when people thought, there's no way he thought that we were going to reply to that. And then we did, and people thought that was really funny. And you know, it saves you a lot of marketing costs. This is all the top posts about Goat Simulator. Usually it takes around, when we released Goat Simulator, it took around 3,000 to 4,000 upvotes to get featured on the front page. Now it's more like 5,000 or 6,000 because Reddit has really grown a lot. But you know, this is totally free marketing. I said that I was going to talk more about Reddit. I myself never update anything on Reddit because I think Reddit is kind of like it's its own community. They have, you know, their own type of talking. They have their own memes and stuff like that. It's kind of like going to a party and selling steak knives, you know those things, and people are enjoying themselves, and you're like, why don't you buy these things? Why don't you buy my things? And everyone's just gonna get angry at you, and everyone's gonna know that you're that developer that keeps coming to Reddit Gaming and keeps pushing your stupid game on us. So I think this is also a thing where you should just try to make fun content, and if you do that, then people will find it. Reddit, as you know, they have eyes everywhere. If you do something funny, they're going to find it, they're going to put it up on Reddit, and if it's funny enough, it's going to get upvoted. There's no reason that you should, as a developer, try to like do commercial for your company on Reddit. Last notes and tips. We're going to do questions. I intentionally saved 15 minutes so that we can do you guys can ask and we can discuss things. So I hope you thought about questions so far. But first I'm going to go through the last tips. If you're going to go away with something in this talk, then I would say that you should remember to, when you do marketing, produce content that people want to share. Don't just produce content that you earn something from. Make things that your fans earn something from sharing it as well. Create a cool party on the internet that people want to go to, instead of creating a huge billboard of marketing and screenshots of your game. And I think it's really important to stand out in every single way that you possibly can. Now again, I know that everyone isn't making a game about goats, so it doesn't always have to be stand out in a funny way. Although I think games could be way more funny than they are. I think people are way too serious in the games industry. But basically, doing something that people don't expect is always going to get you more attention than doing what everyone else is doing. Because if you have a crowd of people, like if you have 100 marketing people, everyone's like banging cans and pots and yelling about their game. If you just, you know, wear a pink suit and stand there, then everyone's eyes are going to get drawn to you. Yes, questions, please. We have microphones over there. Line up and let's do questions.
Hi, I'm making a game about mice, so that's kind of similar. We have a Facebook page that has 1.6 million likes.
Holy shit, how did you get that much?
The game is 6 years old.
Did you buy them?
No. But we have a problem with our Facebook page. It's that it's very scattered between many, many languages. And I see all the updates are in English, but when we post something on Facebook, we have like 200 comments that are in 20 different languages, and it's really hard to reply to them all in a witty way. So how do you manage that?
Oh, we just don't do that.
Yeah. You don't have any comments in other languages than English?
No, I've actually, it doesn't happen. I guess that Goat Simulator kind of became big with YouTubers, and there's a lot of like YouTube fans that come on our page, and I don't have a good response to that question. I'm sorry. You could do things that aren't text, maybe, like do more screenshots instead of like language updates.
Yeah, that's exactly what we do. We always post an image with no text on it that just explains what we want to do. But Facebook recently released a feature that lets you post one post in 2 different languages, and it's really recently, like it's 2 weeks ago. But we used to make one status for every language before, and that reached it really poorly.
So much work, though.
Yeah, it's so much work, and it scatters the comments a lot, so people don't see the post. It doesn't have many comments, so they don't engage with it. So it's kind of hard. I don't.
Try Google Translate. Even if it doesn't make any sense, even if you sound like an idiot, it's not a big deal, I think.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. I'm sorry I couldn't answer it better.
Hi. Hello. Nice talk. You mentioned that Facebook was your main venue to get to the fans, and how you feel about the website? Do you have to have the website just the basic stuff, or because a lot of developers try to update the website, then update the Facebook post, then Twitter and stuff, and just it's so much work. So how do you feel about the game's website or just the studio website?
Honestly, I think our studio website is more for people that want to apply to work with us. They want to know more about Coffee Stain as a studio. I think it's so much easier for people to go on Facebook, because everyone's on Facebook, and it's just you always have a Facebook tab in your phone up. You subscribe. It's so much easier to subscribe to information on Facebook than be take out your calendar and write every Saturday, remember to check their website for new information. So I basically think you just scatter your fans if you have them on 2 different places.
And do you suggest to just put in a link to your Facebook page on your website, and then just if you want to post or info, just go to Facebook?
Yeah, and do one of those things where you get a small screenshot of the latest update that you had on Facebook on your website, so that people can get an update without you having to update 2 things every time you do something.
Thanks.
Thanks for the talk. It was really good. I really like the voice that you have, when you're interacting with your fans on the Goat Simulator page. And I wonder if, when you guys come out with your next game that's not, it fits really perfectly with the Goat Simulator brand. And if you come out with Sanctum 3 or something that's more serious, how would you adjust that voice on the Facebook page for Sanctum 3 how would you apply these lessons to something that's more serious?
That's a really good question. If you look at, I saw, Civilization Beyond Earth, and they have, it's a sci-fi game. And of course they have a ton of sci-fi fans on their page. So they update things like articles, when they found gravitational waves, they put it up on Sid Meier's Civilization Beyond Earth, and they got so many shares from that, because their fans are really interested in space stuff, right? Because you play a space game. So I think you can definitely, it doesn't only have to be funny things. You can do like they're doing it. If you have a game that's about being a cowboy, write like a cowboy, write like an astronaut or something like that. Make it something different than just, thanks for playing our game. Please, tell all your friends.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, thank you very much for the talk. It was really good. Thought you did a great job branding Goat Sim. My question, you talked a little bit about Reddit, and obviously I think it's really good advice not to use it as a commercial tool, but in terms of an engagement tool, how often do you interact with fans on Reddit? And one other thing you mentioned, something that I work on in my role, is getting devs to talk to players. What have you done to kind of have your devs out there a little bit more? And did you have them go to Reddit or just Facebook or anywhere else?
I read all Reddit threads. but I don't reply ever. I think I did it like the first couple of times, but it's like as soon as you reply, you get like 100 people who are like, oh, I have a suggestion. Why don't you make a bird simulator instead? Why don't you make, you know, my mom really likes dogs. Can't you make a game that has like her dog, that looks like her dog? She'll be really happy. You know, you get so much spam, and you tell them, oh, you know, can't you guys go to our Facebook and ask me those things there? And they're like, stop marketing your Facebook on our page. I read all of them. There's an app that you can get that basically, whenever someone writes Goat Simulator anywhere on the internet, and you know, on a Reddit or whatever, I get an email with a link to the site. So every time there's a Reddit thread about Goat Simulator, I see it, I read through it, but I don't comment on it. If they want to talk with me, go to our Facebook page.
Thank you very much. This is a really good talk. We're localizing a game that's kind of like a very off-the-wall style, like it's basically a rail shooter meets dating sim called Galgun that we're bringing over to the West. And it has, thank you. So it's got that kind of very ridiculous sort of marketing style to it as well. But you guys, it's got an amazing engagement on your Facebook page, but I'm wondering, like, do you guys use Twitter very much and how you utilize that avenue as well?
Not that much. We use personal Twitters, so you follow us on Facebook if you want to know about the brand Goat Simulator. But if you want to know more about our employees, then you follow us on our personal Facebook page, our personal Twitter pages. And on Facebook, I maybe update once every other day. On Twitter, you can do whatever you want, like update every day, post pictures of your food or whatever. I think Twitter should more be used. People want to follow people on Twitter and brands on Facebook, I think. Okay, so you guys don't utilize Twitter really for Goat Simulator stuff like you do on Facebook, really? We have a Coffee Stain Twitter where we write, if we release something, we write on Coffee Stain Twitter. But I update that maybe once or twice a month. When we have something to say, we update it on Twitter, because otherwise there's not much you can do. There's not much you can write on Twitter, and it's only 144 characters, and most people miss what you tweet anyway, because there's so much more noise on Twitter than on Facebook. Okay, great, thank you.
Do you have a rule of thumb for how often you need to post? And maybe you don't have this problem, but if you don't have anything interesting to say, is it best not to say anything? That's so hard. It's basically when I have something fun in mind, I post it. I try to post every third day. If we're releasing something new, if we have we have a bunch of new screenshots or GIFs that we want to show off, then I could post every day. But I think there's a risk in saying something just for the sake of saying it. And I think that kind of just makes you look a little bit lame and boring. Update as often as you can, as long as it's good things.
So we're making a game called Chicken, and it's not spelt right. It's kind of weird, and it's like you build creatures with blocks. So we got picked up with our tech demo by the YouTube community, and PewDiePie Jack played it. And it happened very organically, and since October we got 20 million views on all of those Let's Play videos. But now we're about to release in early access, and we're getting very rigid and thinking about this release. So do you think we should let our YouTube community pick it up again organically by buying it, or reach out to them? Because I know you said don't give PewDiePie a key. If he could get it, he could get it himself. So we're wondering if we should be reaching out, nudging, or just let it go.
You can definitely, there's nothing, you don't lose anything in reaching out. I said that mostly because there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I emailed PewDiePie my key, but he hasn't replied. I don't know why. And, he gets 100 people emailing him things every day. And he probably doesn't read the emails himself. Mm-hmm. It's probably some agent of his or stuff like that. So I think, try to reach out. Try to just let them know that you're still releasing the game. And main tip, try to make them put up their video when you've already released your game, or when you're one day ahead of releasing your game, because otherwise people are going to see it but they're going to forget about it. That's what we had with Goat Simulator. We had people started making clones on friggin' iOS. Before our PC version was out, there was like Goat 3D Simulator on iOS. And they would get so many downloads when PewDiePie made his video, because they would look for Goat Simulator on the App Store, and that's what they would have found. Yeah. So I think when a video goes out, you get a ton of people looking for your game, and it's really good if your game is available then.
Yeah, so give them a key the week of launch, you're saying?
Yeah, something like that.
Cool, thanks a lot.
Hi. Just to follow on what they mentioned on Twitter and Facebook, do you have you have, of course, Facebook page for Goat Simulator, but for your other games you use Facebook page for each of your games, or will be better to just have one for like Coffee Stain and then have a change when, depending on the game you're launching at the time?
When I started working at Coffee Stain, we had a Facebook page for Sanctum, so it's just been natural for us to make a new Facebook page for our new games. I don't know if that's the right way to go. I hope so. But you can try it and give me an email and tell me what you think is better. I don't know myself, but I think it's probably not a big deal in the end. The most important thing is just that you make good updates, and then everything else will work out.
Just focusing on the game at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Hi there. So a few years ago, the game we're making right now just sort of went mildly viral, and originally we got taken by surprise, and we
what game?
It's called Castle Story. Is on early access right now.
Cool. I bought that.
Sweet, thank you. But we got taken by surprise, and we sort of redirected everybody on our company's Facebook page, and we got something like 25,000 likes right now, I think. But it just feels like it's sort of has a limited scope, the possibility of growing, because it's completely unrelated to the game itself. So, do you think how do you feel about that? The fact that basically, should we start from scratch and make it like a Castle Story Facebook page, and
how many followers do you have?
20,000, I think, at the moment, but not on. It's on the company page. It's not on the we don't even update the game page. So, what are your thoughts on that?
It's a hard question. I don't know. I think there's a point in having the name of your game always be showing, because that's what we had with the share this goat for no reason, and then it would just say Goat Simulator, share this goat for no reason, and that's really good. That's like 500,000 people see your brand, and that's good. So that's the good thing about having a page just for your game. But the bad thing is that later when you release a new game, you split up your community again. Kind of the same answer as the other guy. I don't know what's best. Maybe you can find out, and then you can tell me.
All right, sure. Will do. Thanks.
I think last question, because otherwise they're going to get angry at me.
I have a short one. I was just curious what app you use to find mentions of Goat Simulator.
Promoter app.
Okay.
It's really good. Yeah, use it. I think it's like $100 a year or something. It's really cheap. Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot for coming, guys. It's been a lot of fun.